In this video, I'm going to discuss On this video, I'm going to discuss adding a common banner. Now, a common banner is simply a group of HTML elements that you use on every page in your website. So here on this page, notice how the banner across the top is on every page. So whenever I go, it's always consistent in the same place, and I can see that and depend on it. I know I'm in the same website, and I know where I am. So here's another example. This is Wikipedia, and it has a different thing on its homepage. So here's its homepage, and which is a different banner than on its regular pages. So sometimes that's the way you do it, is with a different one on your initial page and then similar ones on all your other pages. So see across the top here and down the side, it has this common banner on every page. So you always know that you're in Wikipedia, you know where those links are, you become very familiar and very comfortable being in this website. So we want to do the same thing for our website, is to create this common banner across the website. I've decided that for this one, I want to use this image and this heading. And so what I've done is inside in my HTML code, I put inside the header, right? The HTML5 header is the semantic tag that's appropriate for a banner. And inside there, I've put both the image and the heading. And that's what I want. Now I can use CSS to lay it out the way that I want. To start with, I'm going to add a box sizing property on my image, so that as I do in my CSS style, so as I do height and width, it's going to include not just the content but also the padding and the border. So this is a little bit more involved than the ones we've used before, because it also does the pseudo ones. In the past we've just used the asterisk, but this picks up some of these pseudo elements as well. And now they're set to border box. Now I want you to see something when I do this. So if I save this, now watch this image up here when I do that. Notice how it made that image smaller, and that's because by default image tags have a padding. So now the size that it was set at, the image itself is reduced so the padding can fit in there. So the image is the one element that I don't want that way. When I specify the height and width of the image, I actually want it to be the height and width of the image itself, not the image and the padding. So I'm going to set this one to the content box for image. All right, now if you go back, now the size on that image applies just to the image itself, and I get the actual size that I want. All right, so now that I know what size I'm working with, I'm going to, first I want this heading to come up here beside the image. So to do that in my style, I'm going to capture that image, and it is inside that header tag, the image tag, and I'm going to float it left. All right, so now I float left, and there it is. The heading floated up beside it. Now also the nav floated up beside it, and I really don't want that. I want that to stay down, right? So right after my header, I have the nav section. So in the style, I'm going to stop and say, okay, don't float when you get to the nav section. So I go to the nav, and the way I say don't float is with the clear property, and I'm going to clear both sides so it won't float up any element. And now that pushes it back down where I'd like to see it. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to create some space here between that heading and that image. So I'm going to do that by adding padding to the image. Now notice, since I've set that box sizing to content, when I add padding, it won't resize that. So that image should stay the same. So I'm going to say I want padding, and I specifically want padding right. So I don't need to add padding everywhere, but on the padding right, let's try 24 pixels and see if that gives us the space we're looking for. And there it did. It moved it over. I don't know, I might want just a little bit more, so I'm going to move it up to 30 and see if that's more what I want. And there I get some distance between the image and that text. The next thing I want to do is move that text down. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some padding. Now remember, padding is the space between the content and that border edge. So right between that content and the edge is where I want some space there. And this is on the heading 1. So I'm going to create a selector that's, again, the header, but inside there I want to capture the heading 1 element. And I'm going to do, this time I'm going to do the padding top and see how far I want that. I want a 54 pixel top and refresh it. And there, now I've lowered it some. Okay, notice that it's not all the way in the center. Maybe I even want it a little bit higher so it's in that upper third. But you can play with that and you can get that set wherever you want it. So this is one way to do a banner. And it then becomes part of every page on the website. And the way that we get it to be the same is by making sure that we have exactly the same code. So we take the whole entire header, and I'm going to just do this with one of the pages, the scientific method, and we take that exact same content there and put it in the scientific method page as well. Now, if we go to the scientific method page, there we go. The same thing shows up. They share the CSS file, so all the CSS rules show up in both pages, and we made the content the same, the image and the heading the same. So we get that exact same banner across the top of each page. And I want to show you a couple of things you can do. Here I've used an image next to a heading. Another way to do it is to, instead of having that image here, I can put the image as the background. So I would want it to be the background of the entire header. So I need a selector that is for the entire header, and I'm going to do the background image, and I'm going to set it to this same image. So I just capture the image part and put it in the CSS. All right, and then it becomes the background. So now when I do it, here I get it as a background. So here what we're seeing the image right here, and then we're seeing the background. And we can get rid of the image, because if it's going to be the background, then we don't need it in here. So I'll take it off here and on the other page, so we don't have it as there, and we can have it as just being the background. Now notice what happens when it's the background. The background just fills up however high, right? So the height of this header is only as big as the content, and the only content we have now is that header plus its padding, and so that's how big it needs to be. Well, I want the header to be the entire height, so I can simply set that in the height in the header. I can just add height, and I want this to be as big as that image is. So I'm going to give it the entire height of that image. And there, now I have that whole heading. Now there's a couple of things. Notice that that heading bumps up against the left. There's no image there to slide it over. So I'm going to go ahead and set the text align to center. So then it gets centered in there. Now you might see it's also very difficult to see. So a couple of ways to solve this. One would be to give it a background. Another would be to give it a different color. So let's go ahead and pick up another color and see if that makes it a little bit more visible. So the color, remember, sets the text color. And I make it dark. But notice how these background is just so busy that even when it's dark, it's hard to see. It's very confusing. So what I'm going to do is use an image that I have made lighter, that I've set the opacity. And so I'm going to use that image instead. And the way that I do that is I just simply change the name. I have an image like that, and I have another video that will show you how to do that if you want to be able to do that. And I say use this image instead. And there you go. So it just made everything much lighter. So now that really stands out, and now I can see it. So now I have it as a background image. One more thing, I might say, oh, you know what? I really prefer if that were more purple. So if I could make that image transparent, then I get a whole different look. And so I've got another one that's transparent. This one is a PNG. JPEGs don't have transparency, so you have to use something else. And so there's another one. And notice this one makes it so that it's a little bit, the lettering isn't as easy to see. And so adding a shadow or doing something else to make that stand out would help with that, or staying with that lighter background, right? So if I go to the lighter background, I might like that better, or go back to where I just have the image on the side and the heading right there. You just really want to work with it until it fits what you want your banner to look like, and then you make it the same across every page in the site. And so you see how that stays the same no matter where you are, and you keep that common banner.